everybody. Welcome back to the Latched Mama podcast. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Latched Mama podcast is a podcast for mothers and families in the trenches of motherhood. I am so excited. Today, Lindi and I are joined by our new friend, Amy, who we have been conversing with back and forth for months now, who is doing one of the coolest projects in motherhood. Followed her for years. We're so happy to be a part of it this year, and we wanted to talk all things pump spotting today.
You're listening to Latched Mama Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, busy mom of 6 and owner of LatchedMama.com. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, breastfeeding, postpartum, and all things motherhood.
Hi.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm pumped to be here with you.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to let you do your own intro because I don't know what direction you want to go because you're kind of like a tech person, but you're kind of just a mom person and all of that stuff. You know?
Yeah. We all wear the many hats as moms, don't we?
Exactly.
Yes. Well, I'm so honored to be here. I'm Amy. I am a Mainer. I live in the state of Maine, which we call vacation land. I am a mother to 2 kids. They are now 12 and 10 in 2 days, which is, I don't know, the double digits is a whole
it's a lot.
New phase of motherhood. I am a 2-time breastfeeder, and I am the founder of Pumpspotting. And what we're doing with Pumpspotting is really trying to build community-centric support solutions for parents as they navigate nursing and pumping and feeding. Because as we all know, keeping a tiny human alive and fed is incredibly hard. And for me, having access to other parents who were in the trenches and in this phase of life and up at 3 a.m. for the 12th time in 10 days and, just really navigating what I was going through was what I was missing. And that's the onus for where Pumpspotting began for me is how can we think about building a space in the palm of our hands, in a giant bus, in workplaces that really connects parents, nourishes them, and makes this journey around feeding a baby so much easier and less isolating.
Can you share a little bit more about your story? So it started as Pumpspotting in general. Did it start as an app? Is that where you kind of started?
Yeah. Yep. So about 9 years ago, when I was in the midst of feeding Max, I was flying across the country every month, doing the endless nursing, pumping, thinking about nursing and pumping all the time. And I was here in Maine and a bunch of my work and clients were in San Francisco. And so all I was doing is shipping hundreds of ounces of milk and just constantly in that dance all the time of pumping on airplanes and figuring things out and just feeling so overwhelmed and really isolated. And so I had a moment, I remember really distinctly that I was sitting on a very sticky, dirty bathroom floor in the San Francisco airport about to take, it was probably like my 8th red eye in like 2 months, something crazy. Cause you're always getting back as soon as you can when you're breastfeeding. And I was hooked up to the pump and it was making noise and I could the line of people outside the stall waiting to get in the bathroom. They were anxious and loud and I'm sweating and I'm gross and I'm crying. And it was, for me, it was just absolute meltdown. And it was at that moment that my sister sent me a text and she's like, "Hey, how are you doing? I'm just checking it. How's this going for you?" And I kind of had an aha moment where I thought, we are just not, where do I go where I can instantly connect with other women who are in these bathrooms, in this space? How do we sort of share this knowledge? How do we share this support? How do we transform what for me was a lifestyle around feeding and doing that? And so because my background was in community building through social media, through digital formats, that's where I really had the idea to build an app. We're always on our phones, wherever we're nursing, stuck under a baby, stuck in a bathroom, you've got your phone. And so Pumpspotting really started, the essence of it was connection. How do we build an app that connects moms to one another, to better places to nurse and pump, to experts, to all of those things? And so that was sort of phase 1, was the virtual building of the mobile app, which is still the core essence really of Pumpspotting.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the early days of the app. I mean, and I was starting Latched Mama at the same time. So we were kind of dabbling in the same circles. I remember it being an amazing resource to figure out where there were pumping rooms or different spaces. And that ultimately was part of it at the beginning, correct?
Yeah, that was a huge part of it because that's what I was doing, is going from bathroom to bathroom and, closet and closet. And even, and you know this because you've been in the space as long as I have, but even 9 years ago, it looked very different. We weren't really sharing that information and we weren't talking about it even the way we are today. And, workplaces weren't offering places to pump and public spaces didn't have that. And so it felt like this underground thing that we weren't talking about and you had to unearth. And so that was really where we began, was, hey, imagine if we created something that makes it really easy, and not just the spaces like, hey, where do you go, gate A5 behind the shoe shine, and how do you get there, but also like, where are the spaces that are welcoming. I remember one of the early posts on Pumpspotting was a restaurant, and a mom had posted super friendly wait staff, booths in the back that have a lot of space between the booth and the table. And it's such a small thing, but it makes such a huge difference to know that when you're breastfeeding and pumping. And it's so tricky.
I know, like before, like we're going on vacation and I'm trying to find a hotel. We just have like one day before we go to the next place. And, it's so interesting that we're so quick to give people advice on like who has the best pool or the pack and play that comes in a room, stuff like that. And those elements that can completely change your breastfeeding journey or the ability to parent other people while you're also feeding one from your body and stuff. And I think what's so beautiful about what you've done with Pumpspotting is it definitely gave that place where it's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, all that other stuff matters, but this stuff matters too. Like, where can you feel safe and clean and like celebrated almost as a breastfeeding mom? So
what I found too is back years ago when I was pumping with my first, I exclusively pumped, I had to plug it in. These products evolve, and now you have batteries, and now we've got these like wearable. I didn't get like the wearable ones, and you can really feel more comfortable to almost pump anywhere. But back then I had this loud plug-in, and I needed electric. And so it was really hard if you don't know where to go or whatnot. Nowadays it might be a little bit more comforting with the products we have.
The first time I flew with my best friend from college, and she was pumping, and she is a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers, so she was doing the same like fly. She still does, but she literally, I watched her. Okay, so I own a breastfeeding company. Okay, completely fine with it. All of the stuff, but I watched her just sit down. She didn't give a flying fuck about anything. Barely. I don't even think she had a nursing shirt on. I think she might have put a cover on, or maybe it was just a cardigan. And she was like, I don't care. She was, at this point, this is where I've gotten to. She's like, I'm not going to feel celebrated or safe or clean or anywhere in any of these airports at this point. And this was just like probably 5 years ago. But she just sat there and she pumped, and she's like, I don't care. People can watch if you can. But I mean, her comfort level at that point was a completely different place. But it's wild. I mean, I remember we were one of the first brands to ever show actual breastfeeding on Facebook. So if you want to like actually
wild
how far collectively we have brought kind of the normalization of breastfeeding, it's wild. So I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's amazing to see it. And I think that's where we started to take off, was not just the spaces, but that emotional support and that celebration and that sharing, because there's something so powerful about someone really seeing you in this phase of life and seeing that level of devotion, and see like how many times, I mean, exclusive pumping, how many times you're plugging in and you're doing that and you're putting that forth and what have you. And so that's when we started to really unearth the fact that the community aspect of it, and this safe space and this non-judgmental, and really how we're cheering one another on, and we're just sharing insights and hacks and answers and all that there was something of deep value there that was even outside the physical spaces. And I think that's when we leaned in. But then we had a moment where we were thinking about the next phase, and okay, how do we really serve? Where do we go from here? How do we get bigger? And we did what everybody might do at this phase. We went on a reality TV show. But like, that's how you grow your app. You just go on reality TV. And there was a show at the time for Apple TV. It was called Planet of the Apps. And it was kind of like Shark Tank meets Voice. So you had an opportunity to pitch a bunch of celebrity investors for a chance to then go work with them to essentially try and get a share of VC money. And it was Gwyneth Paltrow and Jessica Alba and Will.i.am and Gary Vaynerchuk. And it was the first time I'd ever pitched the business. And so we were literally, I had 1 minute on an escalator that was moving towards these celebrities to pitch them on my idea and get them, to come on board. And mind you, 10 years ago, like breastfeeding, the fact that I was even saying the word breastfeeding, and talking about it and all of that. And Gwyneth was so sweet and all of that. But I had no idea what I was doing from a business perspective. So we totally bombed in terms of getting investment and where we wanted to go. But Gary asked us, he said, how well do you really understand the pain points of all these women that you really want to serve? And it was such a powerful question for me. Like, okay, I know what my struggles are. We're starting to learn, but like, really, what does the shades of feeding look like? And how do we solve for that? And so that's when Lindsay, my partner who builds the app, and I at 4 a.m., we had this idea, and we have a video of us like at 4 a.m., a little bit hungover after the rejection and all that went on. And we were like, we're going to build a bus. We're going to turn it into a nursing and pumping suite, and we're going to travel across the country, and we're going to meet as many moms as possible. And then we're really going to understand what it is that we needed to build. And so that's when Pumpspotting went from virtual to a physical concept of let's, connect moms in real life. And just a couple months later, I had bought an RV and started that journey.
So what year was that? So when did it go on the road the first time?
2018 was our first.
So you did trip. The 18 tour and then 19 tour? Is that?
Yep. 2019. Yep. 2 years.
Same RV, right?
Same RV. Yep. Okay. Barb. Version 1. Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from the first time that you applied to the second time?
I think we learned that the most successful way to do the tour was to plug in to where the maternal health epicenters and the moms already were. I think the first time we set out, we thought, okay, we'll do these events and we'll plan them and we'll show up and everyone will come to us. And it was really clear after being on the road that you just put the vehicle out there and you really use it as an amplifier for the amazing work that other partners are doing, whether they were brands or community advocates or, birthing centers, all of that. And so we started to really build the second version of the tour more with the community than we did the first time around. And it just made it so much more powerful. And that's something we've sort of carried through today, is how do we just show up and amplify versus trying to be the event itself. And there's a real difference.
I think that was what it was interesting, because I think everybody kind of, we have learned that. I mean, I think that when we first started talking with you, we assumed that, you'd plan events and people would show up to see the bus. But I think what we're slowly realizing is that absolutely you guys have the right strategy because you've done this before. But there's so much power in bringing people together, absolutely. And there's power for bringing them on the bus. But what you're doing for these small places, where you're smaller places that you're stopping and amplifying, just like what you said, the efforts that they do every day, is really, really beautiful. Yeah. And I think that that's been a big takeaway for us as we've watched your different stops come on to the schedule and the map, is that you're giving people a reason to come do something. So like sometimes we'll show a product, and then finally we'll either style it the right way or offer an incentive or something, and somebody will jump on it. All I can think about is like the moms who have seen like Fit for Mom DC, and they've seen it on their feeds, and like, oh, I should really go, and I should really go move my body, and I know I'll feel better, but you know what? I feel like crap today, and I felt like crap yesterday, and I don't really want to do it, but hold on. There's this event coming, so I'm sure there's going to be people who have never gone before as well, and there's this really cool bus, and I can learn about these brands. I'm going to go. I bet that person's going to start going to Fit for Mom after that, and the benefit of that connection or that one person that they meet can completely change somebody's motherhood journey.
Yeah. Can you, because I've seen the snapshots and the stories, walk us through like that bus experience for a mom, maybe when they show up, like, what happens?
Yeah. What happens? Well, Barb is really meant to be a tiny home. So when you show up on board, you kind of can work your way through the bus. There are sections experiences that you can have. So there is, we have a chill station with Series Chill, so you can get water and stay hydrated, which is so important, and learn how to keep your milk cool and frozen and all the things that are super important around that. There is a kitchen. So we have snacks and we feed you, and what you learn all the amazing lactation cookies and things like that. And what is the food that you need on your journey? There's a whole wall of Barb's besties. So there's products and pumps and what do moms love, what makes them different. I think the breast pumps in particular, if you've never been through this before, you don't know what it is. It's like looking at them all so close up and what's the difference between one and the other. So it's a real hands-on space to do that. And then there's a bunch of just spaces to engage and interact. The whole back of the bus is a lounge. You can sit, you can pump, you can nurse, you can hang out. Your babies can crawl around on the floor with toys and all those things. You can leave encouragements to other moms. And then, of course, the most amazing part of the bus is really the Latched Mama closet, where, yes, you can experience all your products. Yes.
Yeah, I think it is so cool. I mean, I think the connection piece, I think we all can agree. Meeting other moms, feeling clean, that is what people are going to leave with. But even the idea, like, where else can you go touch a bunch of pumps? I think Target's doing a little bit better now.
Yeah.
But other than that, especially with like Baby R Us and stuff closing, like where can you do that?
And even there, I don't know, they were in boxes, and there just wasn't, I mean, I remember the first time I had to pump, I hadn't even unboxed mine. I remember being just like so overly full, and my dad's reading the instructions and I'm crying, like it's just, there's moments of things that are sort of hands off. And so to be able to stand on the bus and we'll hold your baby and give you a break, and you can we'll feed you, we'll let you have a timeout, but then you can talk to lactation consultants about, well, like, how do I optimize this? Or what does this look like? Or what didn't I know to make this experience better? Or just hearing from another mom who says, oh, if you try the settings this way, the flow is different. All those little golden nuggets just kind of happen organically when we gather on the bus.
It's so hard for me because, like, I don't know. It's so interesting because, I mean, I always get back to this point where I'm like, we forget moms so much. And it's not just about, hey, you can formula feed. Breastfeeding is not a big deal. It's literally the science behind the fact, just like you said, you're engorged. Like, if you don't remove that milk, like, you have some substantial health situations happening at that point. But we're just like throwing women into the world to figure it out, not realizing that, like, I mean, people's answers are, well, just feed them formula. Don't breastfeed if you can't figure it out. But there's biological reasons why you have to extract that milk. And that's the part that gets me every time, is you can't care for that baby if your breasts are engorged and the milk's not coming out. Like, it doesn't just dry up overnight because you decide to, this isn't for you. And that's what's so wild to me. But anyways, that's my tangent for the day. But the idea that there is not more of a touch and feel element of breast pump somewhere is wild to me. So anybody listening, if you guys, we're not ready to wrap this up yet, but I think it's a good point to say this. Pumpspotting.com/tour. We also have latchmama.com, I think /pages/pumpspotting. We'll link it everywhere. We're about to launch that as well. That will take you to all of the dates and all of the places around the country that the bus is going. I just think it's just such a remarkable thing to be able to, like, the connection piece, I think, is the most important, but to touch and feel some of these products and really, because so much of it's on e-com at this point, like, you don't get that experience of the things. So what do you, tell us some of the things you're most excited about for the tour, or like things that have happened already, or, is it going to be exciting to watch her leave the state of Maine later today?
It is. It's like a little nerve-wracking and exciting all at once. We're sort of like, okay, we've tried to get everything there. We're polishing touches. I mean, we're always adapting, much like breastfeeding. It's a journey. There's always like things to, improve, and you learn, and you think something works this way even on the bus, and it doesn't always, and you adapt it. But yeah, I mean, for me, just getting to actually be out in the world, connecting with moms, to be seeing someone drive a few hours to meet us and come on the bus and see, they really, so many moms step on the bus carrying the weight of motherhood and all that they're trying to navigate and their doubt and just the day-to-day struggles and their lack of sleep and all of that. And they spend, 30 minutes with us, and you just can see the joy and the delight return, and they leave so much lighter. And for me, it's just the most amazing thing in the world, because being able to witness that we have a tiny, tiny part in that transformation just reminds me why I do the work that I do, which is so important, because as you know, running a business, it's hard. There are a lot of days when I am in the business instead of actually, connected to people. And so the tour for me is just like reaffirming on every level.
Who was it that, what's the big VC, the women-owned VC company that had their big summit this weekend? I think you follow them. G something. I don't know. But I was looking at the people there, and I almost felt like that same like loneliness and motherhood. I'm like, oh my God, being there would have. I'm trying to find it now. Dr. Becky was there. Hold on, I'm gonna find it because this is always good for the podcast if I get on my phone and do nothing. But anyway, it was such a great, and it gave me that same feeling of like, you have these different paths in life and these different journeys. And after studying isolation and loneliness and writing a book about motherhood for the past 2 years, it is wild how much energy and health benefits there are from connection under something that you have in common with somebody. And that is what's so beautiful about what you're doing, is that it's not just touching and feeling pumps or learning more about breastfeeding. It is literally being seen and feeling connection can give you more energy than like caffeine and food and exercise. And it is, the science behind it is wild. So like that weight that you see lifted off of somebody, it truly is gone. Like it is wild.
And I'm sure you can probably come up with a couple of moments this has happened, but I know we have as well. Someone might be like, you know what, I grabbed this tank today and I didn't quit today. I'm going to try one more day. And that means and one more day. And I am sure 100% there are women that step on that bus and they're like, I'm going to give it another day. I'm going to try one more time. And it builds and it builds and it builds. And so I'm sure that's happening at all these stops, or will happen at all these stops, whether it's just to connect with another mom, or, oh my gosh, I've got the wrong flange size, or this is the better pump for me, or, this helped me here. So I'm hoping for that. And
it's so interesting too, because I think sometimes like you and us, when you're so in the trenches of it, we have to sometimes have things as a company and say, okay, pull way, way back. Let's pull back to that day you came home from the hospital and you don't know if you can breastfeed for 1 day or 2 days, And I think that sometimes we get into these like, oh, it's a 2-year-old, like let's design clothes for somebody who's breastfeeding a toddler. And when we sometimes forget that we're so into the breastfeeding world now, that even just helping somebody learn how to hand express on the bus, or, hey, my baby gets very pulls off the breast immediately. And, oh, hey, you know what? If you hand express a little bit through your letdown, that's going to help. You have changed that woman's breastfeeding journey at that point. Like, you have literally changed her relationship with her baby. And it's such common knowledge for us after years and years of throwing that information out there. But that one sentence has completely transformed somebody's relationship with their baby.
Yeah, it's really mind-blowing. And it just, in some ways, that knowledge is just not as easy to find as you would think. It is. And so we have to talk about it. We have to share it. We have to put it in all these places, and we have to do exactly what you're saying, is keep remembering that and keep, getting in front of parent by parent. We always say town by town, feed by feed is really the way to move, because it's those tiny moments of insights or redirection or just emotional nudging that literally can make the difference, as you said, between someone stopping and continuing for an entire year. And the ripple effect of that, the health of a mom that becomes the health of a baby, of a family, of a community. It's like, it can't be underscored how much these tiny moments of connection and re-energizing and support make. And I could talk about it for days, because clearly we get super passionate about it, but it just is true. I don't know many other things where the transformation is so big from things that are so small.
And that's what, it's crazy, because it's like this really natural process that can be very hard, but normally the fixes aren't that difficult, but you have to find the education and you have to find the handhold, and you have to find the people to help you through them. And I think that that's where we start to get disconnected and hard as, you know, where we run into struggles as a country, because we don't have that postpartum care system. So we're leaving women to go out there and to fumble and to, it's such a mess. But I truly think that like you're on the same path as we are here, in the sense that like, if we're not going to have large systemic changes in motherhood, because Lord knows we've had multiple administrations and people who have tried, like at some point we have to do it ourselves. Like we have to literally find that connection, like you said, person to person, town to town, and you just kind of have to start going and helping. Because I think absolutely this is a health thing, and this is a health of the baby and the health of the mom and stuff. But I think it also starts getting into just the overall mental health and relationship building for women and mothers as well. Because if you start with, you know, depending on how the baby's born, but then you start with like the shame spiral with the feeding. Like my pediatrician said I was supposed to breastfeed for 2 years, but it's really hard and I didn't know it was going to be hard. And what do I do? And oh my gosh, I'm thinking of stopping. And then you don't have the relationships to actually share, that are vulnerable enough to share that shame. Then it turns into insecurity. And then we have all these toxic female relationships, and it's a nightmare. And then we can't get legislation passed because we can't get along with one another. That is my big thing. But I mean, literally,
it's true.
That was a very long, deep dive. But I truly think if we start fixing these relationships and we start figuring out how to connect with each other in these somewhat vulnerable moments with just like optimism and support and I see you moments, I really think we can fix the bigger picture. I know I sound like
no, you don't. You sound passionate, and I absolutely agree. And I think, you know, one of the other things that I'm really excited about with this tour is working with you all and with amazing partners, because I didn't set out to do this alone. You know, for me, Pumpspotting was always meant to be one piece of all the amazing work that companies and female founders and other mothers and women are doing to really change the system, change the day-to-day for moms. And I get as lit up working alongside other founders who are really, you know, working to build and change things and bring solutions and bring those support to moms as they do the moms themselves. Because it's like, it can't exist in a vacuum, even our relationships or building or changing. And so the coming together of all of us has this amazing effect that is a different layer of what this tour brings. And I love that almost as much as getting to be coming together with all the moms and parents.
I think there's something very unique about being a community builder, because I think in the same way we get energy through building the community and watching the connections make, we also get a front row seat to just how broken it is and how much work there's still left to be done. So I think it's a really unique way to just kind of meet each other where we are, you know, and really look at things as a, oh my gosh, today I'm really tired because people were not happy today and they weren't happy about this or that. And it seems a little irrational to me. But then it'll sometimes take Lindi or myself to say to each other, well, hold on. She probably had a really rough night. Like, let's recircle, you know, like, and it's literally mom to mom to mom to mom to mom. And it's a long journey. But I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. You are definitely taking the heavy lifting part of this journey across the country to meet all of the moms. So plug it a bit. What do you want people to do next? We all have to come find the bus.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to come find us. We've got 15 cities, over 75 events lined up across the country. So go to our webpage, go to the landing pages that will all be linked so that you can give us your email. You can see where we're going to be. You can follow the journey and get all the updates for all the places we're going. Tell all your mom friends. This is word of mouth. And so I think, you know, show up yourselves, share it with any other parents that you think are expecting or in the breastfeeding phase and want to be part of this. You know, follow us on social so that we can keep the fun going.
If you wake up and it pops up on your feed, which hopefully if we're doing our jobs correctly, it will, don't feel like you have to RSVP. And don't feel like if you RSVP, you don't feel shame for not being able to get your kids out of the house. Don't worry about any of that. Like literally come as you are, come as your hot mess selves, come with one baby on your chest and a stroller with the other ones. We are all moms, and we all literally just want to hug you and celebrate you and give you a second to breathe and to feel connected and seen. So please don't
Absolutely.
make a pressure-filled thing. Make it,
No.
things that happen.
No, come in your pajamas.
Yep.
Come leaking.
Absolutely.
Come on all of those things. I mean, bring your partners.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the other thing with this tour. It's not just about moms, it's about families. And so bring your support system. They should come as well, be part of this. I also think we've gotten such an amazing response that we are starting to collect requests for where to go next. Because I think in some ways, this is a giant moving vehicle. And so it's a huge undertaking, and we have to kind of do the best we can to get everywhere we can. But I think, if all continues to go well, this will just be the start for us. So whether you're coming to one of our websites or on social, tell us where to go next. Tell us where we should come support you, and we'll add it to the wish list for future routes.
I love it. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I think it's amazing. Like I said, you're doing the heavy lifting. You're putting something mechanical on the road and hoping it gets from one place to the other. And I think that is just a giant undertaking. And we could not be more honored and proud to be part of it all. And I cannot wait to see what's to come for the next months. Maybe halfway through you can come back and we can talk about some stories and stuff.
Yeah, that would be amazing. We'll come talk about highlights from the road and
I love
how it's going. But yeah, we're just so honored to have you all on board, and to just the Latched Mama community is so enthusiastic and amazing, and just really excited to meet them on board as much as all of you, because we can't, we need you all to build this together. And so thank you for being part of this journey.
One money, one mother, one feed, one community. I love it at a time. And I think that's how we get there and how we make progress. So thanks, Amy.
Amazing. Thank you.
Bye.